In this step we're going to assemble the rotor head. You're going to need all the rotor head parts you see from the kit, including an M1.5, an M2, an M2.5, an M3, and two M4 hex drivers, as well as a pair of needle nose pliers, some blue thread lock, and some synthetic hydrogen grease. Okay, we're going to put the head block together. Start off by putting the head button on. This goes on with an M3x14 socket head bolt. Make sure you use thread lock. We're going to put the dampers in the damper sockets. There's two sets of dampers in the kit. The clear 80 durometer and the blue 90 durometer. Most people are doing some amount of 3D flying. You're going to want to put the harder 90 durometers in. If you look at these, there's a square end and a rounded end. The rounded end goes in the sockets, in the recesses in the head. Just pushes in really easy. So now we're going to put the Swashplate followers together. The follower arms come pre-assembled with bearings in them, so we don't have to worry about that. We do need to put the follower links on. They're going to go on oriented so that the angle on the link is on the same side as the shouldered part of the follower, and we're going to insert the pin from the inside of the link, which is on the same side as the angle. That's where the flat side would be. Now the link slips over the end of the follower like so, oriented like this. Need a pair of pliers to simply push the pin through. When this is inserted, you'll see the end of the pin protruding from outside the link, and it has a little notch on it. This little notch is where the little clips are going to go to retain this on. So you slip the clip over the end of the pin like so. You take a pair of needle nose pliers and you very carefully, where it's seated on the end of the pin, like that. Do this for the other one as well. The followers install on the head block like this. The links are going to be angled towards the center line of the head block. You're going to use M3x16 button head bolts. They go through the bearings and the Swashplate followers and thread into the little tabs that protrude from the bottom of the head block. Use blue thread lock on these and tighten them well. They'll still move very freely when you're done. Now we're going to put the blade axle through the dampers. First, make sure you degrease the threads on both ends. I usually use a spray contact cleaner. Then coat the shaft with the synthetic grease, and then we're going to take it and insert it through the dampers. With the grease on it, it'll actually go really quite easily. And you want to get this just roughly centered. It doesn't have to be perfect because it'll center itself in the next step. We're going to put the blade grips together. They come from the factory with all the bearings installed, both radial bearings on each end and the thrust bearings in the center. They're all in there, they're lubricated, they're ready to go. We just need to put the parts together. To assemble the blade arms, you take the blade arm itself, install a 107 ball with blue thread lock, then select one of the blade grips. This is actually going to go into this slot. You're going to line up the holes and use the M3x8 socket head bolts with thread lock to put these together. When you're done, it's going to be aligned as just like this. The top of the blade arms have the word XCell machined into them. The bottom will have a square recess, which is where the blade bolt nut's going to go. Alright, using the head block we've already started putting together, take the two graphite washers, the ones with the large hole in them, Slide one over each side of the blade axle and take the two blade grips, slide them over just like this. Now they can actually go over the top of the head button, so it's not terribly important that they're in the right position at this point. But this is the position they'll wind up in. Now you're going to take the two M4 bolts, put the graphite washers, this is the smaller hold ones, over on each one. Apply some thread lock. Make sure you've got these clean. Take one of the M4 drivers and it's going to go right into the threaded end of the axle. Like this. You want to tighten that up. And you actually want to tighten them against each other using two wrenches. That way this will center the head axle. You don't really need to kill these, you just need to make sure they're tight. Okay, that's the blade grips assembled on the head block. Okay, we're almost done with the rotor head. We're going to take the two M3x10s, thread them into the bottom of the head block. This is where the clamping portion is. Right now we're not going to fully tighten those. We're going to take the mount bolt, insert it through the head block. You can see there's a round insert on one side and a square insert on the other. Bolt goes through the round insert side. Take the M4 lock nut. We're just going to seat it on here for now so we don't lose that part. Also the blade bolts, these are M5s. They go through from the top where the word XCell is machined. You look on the other side, it's a square recess which will hold the nut. Just thread the nuts on temporarily. We'll put the blades on in a later step. Okay, when we got both of those in, the rotor head is complete, ready to install on the chassis.